Honourable colleagues, I have examined and approved the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 9th December 2020. Announcements. A conference committee on the 2021 to 2023 medium-term expenditure framework has been set up to harmonize the differences between the Senate version and the House version. It's a 7-member committee. Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, Honorable Said Abdullahi Musa, Honorable Taiwo Oluga, Honorable Obina Chidoka, Honorable Eta Mbora, Honorable Ahmed Ndakene, Honorable Edwin Anayo. That's the conference committee on the harmonization of the 2021-2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy papers. Are there any petitions? Petition? So can we move on? Honorable Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ferdinand Dozier Wonko, member representing the people of Nchikoka and Ocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency. I have a motion. I rise order under 8, 4, and 7 to plead with the House for me to take a motion of urgent national importance, need to monitor the distribution of post-COVID-19 pandemic palliatives and other measures to cushion the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on Nigerians. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Thank you, Honorable Boma.
Wonderful morning, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Dozier. I so second. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dozier.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Ferdinand Dozier Wonko, member representing the group people of Nchikoka and Ocha Dunukofia Federal Constituency. The House is aware of the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic on Nigerian economy and our citizens, and a series of efforts and measures adopted by the executive to cushion the effects of the income loss due to pandemic. Conscious of the intention of the executive to stimulate the growth and survival of the economy and the citizens' livelihood, both in the private and public sector. Central Bank of Nigeria 50 billion now increased to 30 billion credit facility stimulus package for households and micro and small enterprises. Small business can get 25 million, while household can get 3 million each. One-time payment of 30,000 each to 33,000 artisans and transporters under micro, small, and enterprise survival fund. 9,009 beneficiaries per state for transporters and 4,504 for artisans. 100 billion interventions in healthcare loans to pharmaceutical companies and practitioners. 1 trillion in loans to boost local manufacture and production across critical sectors. Commencement of a 3-month repayment moratorium to be given to all trade money, market money, and farmer money loans and others. The House is worried that as many as the programs are, as much funds that have already been deployed into the programs, complaints abound nationwide by taming Nigerian citizens who have not felt the impact of the cushioning measures. This means that the programs are yet to get to the grassroots across the Federation. The House is concerned that the NSAS protest revealed that some palliative meant for distribution to the public long before now were still being kept in warehouses across the states, while Nigerian citizens are still very hungry and wallowing in penury. Evidently, there are doubts and suspicions in the minds of the citizens that these palliatives and intervention measures will end up being hijacked or diverted to personal use. Disturbed that there is insufficient information about the palliatives and intervention measures employed by government, which left the citizens with no option than to believe that the whole exercise lacked transparency in distribution. Many citizens are as today not aware of the availability of such stimulating and intervention measures, whereas others who are aware are not comfortable with some of the conditions and terms. Cognizant that the ugly effects of COVID-19 pandemic are still biting hard on the Nigerian citizens, including civil servants, as normalcy is yet to return, meaning that things like price of commodities and supply chains are not yet pre-pandemic rates. The House resolved to urge the executive to urgently review and introduce extra measures to display more transparency in the post-COVID-19 program, aimed at cushioning the effects of the pandemic on Nigerians. Urge the government agency handling the programs to employ more robust publicity of the programs to create more awareness and as well make the requirement easier to meet. Call on the relevant government agencies involved to expand the criteria for selection of who will be beneficiaries of the programs to accommodate more people. Set up an ad hoc committee or any other relevant standing committee to liaise with the relevant government agency charged with the responsibilities of distributing such intervention measures to ensure widespread distribution to the grassroots across the Federation and report back to the House within 6 weeks. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Honorable Buba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I rise to second the motion moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Thank you. I don't think there's any need for debate on this. Your prayer was to refer this to, what was your prayer to who? Your mic, please.
Set up an ad hoc committee to, or any other relevant committees.
Okay, this is to do with the palliatives?
Yes.
Okay, we have a committee on COVID-19, so we'll send this to the committee, the relevant committee on COVID-19. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Who's raising a point of order? Point of order? Your mic, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Solomon Bob. I'm from River State. I raise this point of order under Order 6 of our rules. And it's a matter that borders on privilege for me and everybody here as a member of this House. Last week, I recall that this House passed a resolution inviting the President to come and address us on certain issues bordering on security and related matters. Subsequently, I read that the President had consented to attend. And something on that as well. I noticed that subject being an item on the other paper. I think on Tuesday, although it was skipped eventually. And events since then have since shown that the resolution passed by this House has been flagrantly disrespected. This matter borders on privilege because, like I said, it touches on the integrity of this House. Okay? If this House can pass a resolution and we have a situation where such a resolution is so abused and dragged to the gutter the way it seems to be the case now, it means that our very function as a House for Nigerian people, our very responsibility, our very existence, in fact, is being questioned. And I think the Speaker should address us on the current situation, the current decision. There might have been some, back-channel discussions between leadership and the presidency. So we ought to know, before we commence any business of this House today, we ought to know. We ought to be addressed on what has happened to that resolution. The entire public is watching. The whole country is watching. They want to see the response of this House to such a flagrant disrespect of a resolution that was passed here on the floor of this House. So I raise this point of order because it bothers me, and it should bother everyone else here, because at the pain of repeating myself, it's capable of showing that we have no consequence. Mr. Speaker, this House which you lead is one of consequence. And I know that you are a man of metal. You're a man of metal. You've taken actions before that have proven that. And I'm convinced that this time you will take necessary steps to protect the integrity of this House and its membership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Solomon. Your privilege is noted. The channels of communication are procedural, and we'll await for official communication from Mr. President as opposed to newspaper reports. Thank you. Honourable members, the first business of the day is presentation of report on the Committee on Finance, Northeast Development Commission and Public Procurement on investigation of the alleged misappropriation of 100 billion naira only in the Northeast Development Commission, standing in the name of Honorable James Abiodun Faleke. Honourable members will recall that the matter was referred to the committee on Thursday, 23rd July 2020. The report is ready for presentation. Honorable Faleke is invited to present the report.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is James Abiodun Faleke. I represent Ikeja Federal Constituency. I'm from Lagos State. I rise that the House will receive the report of the Committees on Finance, Northeast Development Commission, and Public Procurement on investigation of the alleged misappropriation of 100 billion naira only in Northeast Development Commission. I so move.
Any seconder, please? Huh? Okay, of course, Chairman NEDC, Honorable Khadija.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Khadija Waziri Bukar Ibrahim. I represent Damaturu, Tarmua, Kujibabulani Federal Constituency of Yobe State. I hereby second the report as proposed by my colleague, Honorable Falake. I so second. Thank you.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Falake. Second business of the day is presentation of 3 reports of the Committee on Public Petitions, standing in the name of Honorable Jerry Alagbaso. Honorable Alagbaso is invited to present the reports.
Thank you, our performing speaker. Our colleagues, my name is Jerry Alabos. I'm from Imo State, representing Olo, Osun, and Uru East Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I rise to present 3 reports from the Committee on Public Petition. One is report on the petition by I.B. Ahmed and Co. against Nigeria Police Force over the non-payment of the entitlement and benefits of late CPL Olajide Aduwale, force number 64226, to his family, and appeal for urgent intervention. 2, report on the public petitions on the petition by Bankola Olawale against the National Council for Arts and Culture. 3, report on the Public Committee on Public Petition on the petition by Arewa Al-Ulufemi against Federal Road Safety Commission on dismissal from the service. I so present, Mr. Speaker and colleagues.
Okay. Any second there? Who's the acting chief whip? Chief whip, you are here? Chief whip. Okay. Honorable Gagdi has been distracting me, and he's also not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a mask and he's been distracting me, and you have allowed him to. Thank you. Oh, he has gone. Yes. Second, Deputy Chief.
Has heavily moved by Jerry Alagbaso. I so second.
Those in support of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Alagbaso, please lay the report. We move on to the next, or the first order of the day, which is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Companies Income Tax Act, Personal Income Tax Act, Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act, Customs and Excise Tariff, Consolidated Act, Value Added Tax Act, Federal Inland Revenue Services Act, Nigerian Export Processing Zone Act, Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act, Fiscal Responsibility Act, Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Public Procurement Act, in order to make further provisions in connection with the federal government, financial management, public revenue, and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader, honorable members will recall that the bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, 9th December 2020, and I invite the Leader to move that the bill be now read a second time. The House Leader.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Ado Dogwa is my name, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I represent the good people of Dogwa, Tudunwada Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano State. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to move that a bill for an act to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Companies Income Tax Act, Personal Income Tax Act, Tertiary Education Trust Fund Establishment Act, Customs and Excise Tariff, etc., Consolidated Act, Value Added Tax Act, Federal Inland Revenue Services Establishment Act, Nigerian Export Processing Zone Act, Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act, Fiscal Responsibility Act, Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Public Procurement Act, in order to make further provisions in connection with the federal government financial management, public revenue, and for related matters, HB 1139, for the second reading. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I therefore move that the bill be read for the second time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dudu Godwin Edumelu, and I represent the good people of Anyoche Shibili Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion moved by the House Leader. I so second.
House Leader, can you take just about 45 seconds to just touch one or two areas if you want, and leave the balance of your time, if you don't mind. I would want Honorable Linda to fill in the balance of your time. I think she might want to debate this issue as well. So go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I believe like you have all seen, this is a bill that intends to actually bring up to date most of these acts that I have mentioned in the course of the presentation of the second reading. Mr. Speaker, it's a straightforward matter. Nigeria's economy under the challenging situation, we need to really revisit and review some of our legal frameworks as it affects to our financial management. And in this regard, Mr. Speaker, doing what we are doing today will definitely provide economic windows for the country for economic development. It will also update our legal frameworks so that our own standings, our callings in terms of our financial management will be in tandem with the global best practices. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I would like to urge my colleagues, honorable members, to allow this bill pass so that Nigeria could also be rated favorably with best practices of Nigeria, of global financial management and economic engagements with even other global countries. That is what this bill is all about, and I seek for your contribution and support to make it fast the second reading. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you. Honorable Linda, what do you think of this bill, please?
Of the leader's submission, I'm Linda Chuba Ikpeazu, member representing Onitsha North and South Federal Constituency. I am in support of the leader's submission that the bill be read a second time. There are actually there are no new taxes. It's all to encourage ease of doing business in Nigeria, and we all know how the economy is in Nigeria right now. So we all need all the assistance that we can give, so that we'll have more investors, so we can have people do business, and of course, create employment, and the economy will start booming. So I urge honorable members to please support this bill so I be read a second time. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. So I take it this is a bipartisan bill. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Chairman Media, you are distracting the speaker. Chairman Media.
The man is media. It's Chairman Media. It's a very powerful position. The Chief Whip wants to see you. Okay, so clerk is invited to read the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Companies Income Tax Act,
Honorable Gagdi,
Personal
please can you
Income
maintain
Tax
social
Act,
distance, please?
Tertiary Education Trust Fund Establishment Act, Customs and Excise Tariff Act, ETC Consolidated Act, Value Added Tax Act, Federal Inland Revenue Services Establishment Act, Nigerian Export Processing Zone Act, Oil and Gas Export Free Zone Act, Fiscal Responsibility Act, Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Public Procurement Act, in order to make further provisions in connection with the federal government, financial management, public revenue, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Finance. Second order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to alter Section 254F2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to delete the entire provision of the ground on the ground that the reflection of the Evidence Act, the Criminal Procedure Act, and the Criminal Procedure Code in this provision is superfluous. And for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 29 September 2020, and I invite Honorable Tajuddin to move that the bill be read a second time. Honorable Tajuddin. Point of order. Honorable Gagdi, also a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I come under privileges, order 8 rule 6. There are a lot of members, including Chairman Power, Chairman...
Who, Chairman Power?
Yes, Chairman Power, Chairman...
Honorable Dow. Is that who you're talking?
Yes, no social distance all over, sir.
Your point of order has been noted by all concerned.
Please, honorable members, observe social distance in accordance with COVID-19 protocols.
Sergeant Adam.
Honorable Gabasawa, please.
Clerk. If you look up
Honorable
in the gallery,
Linda.
if you look up in the gallery,
And
you see
Honorable
that there's no
Chairman
social
Gas.
distance.
Honorable Boma, Chairman Gas, Inkema Bonta.
Honorable colleagues, please maintain social distance. If you look up in the gallery, there's no social distance. Can the Sergeant Adams please go upstairs and make sure that the COVID protocol is observed? Thank you. House leader is coming to see you. See the leader. Honorable Tajuddin. Abbas, is he here? Okay, so item step down. Is the Deputy Chairman Business and Rules here? Honorable Kuye. If Honorable Kuye is here, he needs to come and fill the... The Chairman Business and Rules is not here, so we'll need the Deputy Chairman or the next in line to fill Honorable Fulata's seat, please. Okay. Honorable Dati, thank you for the offer.
Dati, please be guided. Honorable Dati. That is why it's good to be a ranking member. Please.
third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to set time within which civil and criminal causes and matters are heard and determine that trials and appellate courts in order to eliminate unnecessary delay in justice administration and delivery, and for related matters standing in the name of Honorable Onofo Luke and 7 other members. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 29 September 2020. I now invite Honorable Luke to move that the bill be now read a second time. Honorable, is this not what the Justice and Administration Act sought to do? To limit, it's not the same thing? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Onofio Luke, 18 and September, Msurubion Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Akwa Ibom State. I rise to move a motion that a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C-23 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to set time within which civil and criminal causes and matters are heard and determined at trial and appellate courts in order to eliminate unnecessary delay in justice administration and delivery, and for other related matters be read the second time. I so move, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Aisha. Congrats on the beginning of the amendment to the Electoral Act yesterday.
Honorable Aisha Jibril Duku, Gimbier Duku, member representing Dukuna Federal Constituency. I come from Gombe State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Luke that the bill be read the second time. I so second.
Thank you, Honorable Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity once again that you have granted that the voice of my federal constituency, which is Etina and Nsurubion Federal Constituency, be heard. My name is Onofio Luke. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased for this opportunity to lead debate on this seminal constitutional proposal, which when passed would entirely change the face of justice in Nigeria for the good of all. It's more pleasing that this proposal is made in this particular legislative house, which is known to be pro-people and take people's stands and interventions and also taking bold steps in line with our legislative agenda to bring about justice sector reform. Mr. Speaker, the background of the bill, dear members, the pace of justice delivery in Nigeria is alarmingly slow. In average, cases stay a minimum of 5 to 15 years before determination and judgment. The snail-like pace of justice delivery has caused great discomfort, inconveniences, and hopelessness to litigants, investors, citizens, and businesses. People only know the date they approach the court, but they do not know when their matters will get determined. The inability of our judicial system to deliver justice to the people within a reasonable time has occasioned great frustration on the part of the people and has caused them to resort to self-help, fast means of obtaining remedy and justice, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, slow justice delivery stands as a stumbling block to Nigeria's industrialization drive and foreign investment. Speedy justice delivery bolsters economic development by improving the enforceability of contracts, settlement of disputes, etc. It guarantees enforcement of fundamental rights, stabilizes the polity, and minimizes chaos, reduces resort to self-help, and boosts people's confidence in government. Mr. Speaker, permit me to say this. Some years back, honorable colleagues,
Elections petitions used to drag in court for several years before this hallowed house, in consonance with the Senate, took the bold step of limiting time within which election petitions and electoral matters should be determined. The single legislative decision expedited hearing and determination of election cases and has provided electoral justice to politicians and political parties. This bill seeks to, in a large scale, but in a similar manner, provide justice to the people by setting time within which matters can reasonably be determined in court. Mr. Speaker, to buttress this fact, we want to bring the stance of Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in justice sector reform. At the first virtual annual general conference of the Nigerian Bar Association held this year, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, represented by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, suggested the need to limit the lifespan of matters in court. That shows the willpower and the political power from the executive. So the responsibility now lies with us, the lawmakers, to craft legislations so that we can give legislative backing to that policy direction that the executive has exemplified in the speech of Mr. President. If the two top powerful leaders of the country can find the need to have matters in court limited by time, how much more will common litigants who have no other avenue to turn to, but largely depend on the court for justice? So, Mr. Speaker, it's on the basis of this that this bill is being proposed. The bill seeks to amend Chapter 6, Part 4 of the Principal Act, that is the 1999 Constitution as amended, by inserting after the existing Section 287, a new Section 287A. This section sought to be included has 10 clauses. And one of the clauses, which is the only one that I'm going to point out here, Mr. Speaker, is that clause 1, which mandates every trial Superior Court of Record to deliver judgment on a matter before it within 270 days. That is a period of 9 months from the date of filing of the civil or criminal matter. And Mr. Speaker, electoral matters are, however, exempted by this clause, since such matters are specially regulated by other constitutional provisions. So, Mr. Speaker, the bone of this is that we have had so many of our people in criminal cases wasting away and leading occasion to the congestions of our courtrooms. So this bill seeks to congestion of our correctional centers. This bill seeks to decongest our correctional centers. This bill seeks to decongest the cost list in our courtrooms. So I plead with my colleagues to see the need to give the support and let this House rise in unison to make sure that just like we as politicians has benefited by way of the time frame for electoral matters, let us have the common litigant, let us have the common citizens of Nigeria benefit the same way we in the political class have benefited by way of election petition. So on this note, Mr. Speaker, I plead with my colleagues to support this bill, that let it be read the second time, and I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thanks again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Luke. I think this is a very good bill, but again, how is it different? I'm sure there's got to be differences between that and the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Okay, Honorable Mongunu, yes.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Martin Monguno Nganzai, Federal Constituency of Borno State. Before I make my contribution, let me answer your question. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act stipulates that criminal matters should be prosecuted on a day-to-day basis, that there should not be checkered history of adjournments and re-adjournment, but it should be from a day-to-day basis. There is no time limit within which criminal cases should be disposed of, but it only urges the courts to do it from day to day, so that it will aid in the speedy dispensation of justice. That is what the Administration of Criminal Justice Act presupposes. It doesn't stipulate time limit within which that these cases should be disposed of. So be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, I want to, subject to your permission, having answered your question, wish to also contribute my widow's mite to the debate.
Yeah, before you contribute, so the answer is basically that, because the point I was trying to make was that the two bills, the Criminal Justice Act and the amendment, seek to do the same thing in terms of to shorten the time
Yes.
frame or lifespan of
For the administration
for
of
action for legal actions to be alive.
Yes.
You know, but the Criminal Justice Act does not specify time, is what you're saying.
Yes.
But this constitutional amendment does. Is how I said, but they seek to do the same thing, but the time,
Yes.
the issue is time. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill that is being sponsored by Chairman Judiciary is very germane, having regard to the fact that our correctional centers are congested as a result of the fact that criminal cases, especially in our courts, suffer checkered history of adjournments, mostly as a result of action or inaction as a result of from prosecution authorities or from lawyers in the bar, or sometimes as a result of action or inaction in the bench. So once time limit is constitutionally stipulated for the disposal of criminal cases, then the courts will make sure that these cases are not started bad. They will make sure that it is disposed of within the time stipulated by the Constitution, because once it is outside that time, it is going to be started bad. So I support this bill because it will go a long way in decongesting our cost list, and also it will go a long way in decongesting our correctional centers. Thank you.
Honorable Abonta, put on your mic.
I remain Uzoman Kimabonta. As we have listened to the mover of the bill and the last speaker, we all agree that in matter of criminal justice, we need to decongest the prisons and do the needful. Mr. Speaker, my fear is realizing the intendments and intentions of the bill will need us to also introduce a lot of radical things to get it done. Mr. Speaker, time doesn't run out of crime, for example. And criminal matters is a species of litigations which involves investigations and prosecution. Mr. Speaker, if we say every matter must be decided within 9 months, at the end of 9 months, like elections, litigations, and they don't conclude, would they say the accused person, your sins are no more because they could not complete within 9 months? I agree that there's need to speedily conclude criminal matters so that people do not stay longer in jail than even the prison terms. We must, to achieve this, create more courts, relocate some courts to the prison yards that are asking now. I see no reason why magistrates and so cannot move to prison or correctional centers to dispense quick justice. Part of the delay will be that to transfer prisoners from correctional centers to the courts is an issue. Therefore, we still need again to do total overhauling of criminal justice, setting up more courts, more prosecutors. In a recent Supreme Court decision, police had been barred from prosecuting criminal cases. How many lawyers do we have to prosecute cases now, for example? My chairman will know this. So a lot of things must be put in place before we can do this. If we do this without putting things in place, we'll be setting criminals free, because they will delay from their sickness or after 9 months. They say, oh, you can't prosecute anymore, 9 months is gone. So are they going to go? I should think that the bill should go, I agree that such bill should go to the second stage so that the committee will look at it. But it should include the engines that will let this work. If you put a time frame without putting those necessary things, you will be setting the criminals free. They'll all go there, the day they will try, they find sick after 9 months. So, because you didn't conclude this, you are no longer a robber, go home. Therefore, the committee should look at creating more courts. Let me give you an example, Mr. Speaker. Abuja Judicial Division should have nothing less than 50 criminal courts. Nothing less than that. He made reference with tribunals, election tribunals. These are special courts created for this. So we should also look at that and create such courts without wasting. And again, there are also civil matters that the proof, burden of proof, Speaker, you're a lawyer, you know, differs. In criminal matters, you must do that proof beyond reasonable doubt. It's not the same. Therefore, not to waste our time more, let the committee be properly guided to provide the necessary things that will make the timing to work. And the appropriate work should be within the shortest reasonable time. Otherwise, grant the person liberty. But to say, if after 9 months you do this, that, will not be proper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, I think Honorable Abonta raises some very interesting points. One of which is that in a bid to do the right thing, which is what Honorable Luke is trying to do by this amendment, we may end up also compromising another person's fundamental human right to fair hearing by abridging the time, and we end up setting criminals or even civil applicants not doing justice at we sacrifice it on the altar of time. But I think it's still a good bill, and like you rightly said, maybe at the committee level, all these things that Honorable Abonta said can now be woven or baked into the bill. So we'll take just one or two more. Yes,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Shaba Ibrahim. I represent Lokoja Kogi Federal Constituency. Your Excellency, while agreeing with the import of the proposed amendment, I think it is necessary, sir, to also look at the possibility or the necessity for drawing the delicate balance between that amendment as proposed and Section 36(1) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that talks about the right to fair hearing. The law is apt. It's already provided for, sir, that in the determination of an individual's civil rights and obligations, he's entitled to be heard fairly within reasonable time. What is reasonable, Your Excellency, will be determined by the peculiarity of each case. I also like to point out, sir, that the worry that necessitated the proposal for this amendment has in most cases been catered for by the ACJA, that's Administration of Criminal Justice Act. So, sir, if we are not careful how we weave around this amendment, we might again be coming in direct conflict with Section 35, which, being a fundamental rule section, may bring us into more harm than what we seek to avoid. On the whole, sir, I agree in principle that there is some need to check it, but in so doing, we shouldn't lose sight of the delicate balance between that amendment and the provisions of Section 36, subsection 1 of the Constitution. Thank you for the audience, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Luke, you need to pay attention to your bill. Even the DS just reminded me that what about the situation where, for instance, in this pandemic, courts are locked down and they cannot, because it's a constitutional matter, you cannot, it's difficult to amend after that. So we'll look at, somebody else wanted to speak on this. Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you.
I beg your pardon? Is that the only place there? Is that what you said? We've taken 2-3 comments from here, and you are saying, is that the only place here? Come on, Honorable Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Herman Hembe. I represent Konshavarika Federal Constituency. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I will speak briefly. The section as just recently read by my honorable colleague, section 36, clearly talks about reasonable time. That, Mr. Speaker, is the standard as provided by the Constitution. Reasonable time implies that the process be done as quickly as the circumstances provide. Circumstances could include anything, including what you just mentioned, Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 pandemic, or any other crisis or natural disasters that may prevent the matter being carried out expeditiously, including inavailability of suspects and witnesses and people who can add value to such a matter. To attempt to give it a timeline, as is done in election petition matters or other civil matters, will bring danger to that particular procedure. I think, Mr. Speaker, we should not allow this bill to go beyond this level, because people will begin to look at doing what they think sounds right as opposed to what actually is right. People will look at circumstances of people who have spent lengthy periods in prison awaiting trial, and lose sight of the fact that circumstances are different. And like another speaker earlier spoke, you will lead to a situation where people will begin to be let free from jail because time has elapsed. On the strength of that, and to protect our criminal justice system, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'd like to humbly suggest that we'll set aside this bill now. It is not very necessary at the moment. And circumstances that will provide for expeditious trial of criminal matters simply do not exist. It has just been pointed out here also that policemen are no longer allowed to trial criminal matters. It is only lawyers. How many lawyers do we have in police commands working for the state? These are issues that are necessary to address before you get into such a thing. Because those issues and those circumstances are not in place, it is dangerous for us to continue with this kind of bill, because people will look at doing what they think affects them emotionally and forget the bigger picture, which is that at the end, you will cause a miscarriage of justice across the board. On the strength of that, Mr. Speaker, I want to strongly move that this bill be set aside at the moment, pending the future when we are ready for such a bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Honorable Olododo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I think we all agree that there's need for us to decongest the various correction centers in our country. My name is Arimin Olododo, representing the people of Ilori East, Ilori South, Federal Constituency. I'm from State of Harmony, Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, without taking much of our time, I think it's a straightforward issue, as rightly said. This is a good bill, our amendment bill. And the other bill that you refer to, there's no problem. We can at least consolidate the two, the criminal justice and this amendment bill. At the committee level, let them consolidate the two and we see how we come out of it. But we need to decongest the foreign center in our country. That's my own contribution, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Anybody else? Oh, we've left your side, Chinedu. Unfortunately. Let's just put the question. It's a constitutional matter. The Deputy Speaker is heading the Constitutional Review Committee and he will know how to handle that matter. So I think we'll just put the question. Those who support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Matter referred to. Second reading, sorry, please.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to set time within which civil and criminal causes and matters are heard and determined at trials and appellate courts in order to eliminate unnecessary delay in justice administration and delivery and for related matters. Second reading.
Thank you. Bill referred to the Special Ad hoc Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution. Fourth order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended to provide that the federal and state governments shall have concurrent legislative authority on railway and for related matters standing in the name of Honorable Babajimi Benson. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 20th of October 2020, and I invite Honorable Benson to move that the bill be read a second time.
Honorable colleagues, I remain Babajimi Benson. I represent Ikorodu Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks, Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to provide that the federal and state governments shall have concurrent legislative authority on railway and other related matters be read for a second time. I shall move.
Any seconder? Is that Dr. Ajibo?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name remains Dr. Henry Achibong. I represent and speak for the people of the two Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support that the bill, as read by my colleague, be read a second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to enhance infrastructural development in Nigeria, the railway system remains a sine qua non to achieving that aim. Mr. Speaker, how best can we help ramp up the railway infrastructure? The best way is to ensure or encourage other participants, Mr. Speaker, to participate. As we speak today, the railway authority or system is the exclusive preserve of the executive. This bill seeks to bring the railway infrastructure in the concurrent list so that states can participate. The benefit of this, sir, is that the knock-on effect would add so much value to our GDP, will increase the state's revenue generation, would encourage employment, and at best will connect the country rapidly and also ease the pressure on our roads. Mr. Speaker, I crave the indulgence of the House to ensure that this bill passes second reading and is referred to the ad hoc Committee on Constitutional Review, ably headed by our Deputy Speaker. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Let's just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended to provide that the federal and state governments shall have concurrent legislative authority on railway and for related matters. Second reading.
A bill referred to the Special Ad hoc Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution. Fifth order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, charged with the duty of, among others, determining what standards of knowledge and skills are to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the Institute, and for related matters, signed in the name of Honorable Chinyere Igwe. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 20th of October 2020, and I invite Honorable Igwe to move that the bill be now read a second time.
I represent Port Harcourt Federal Constituency of River State. Mr. Speaker, I move that this bill be now read the second time. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Kabir Alasarurum. I represent Orano Bunko, the Kebe Federal Constituency. The Speaker, I am from Kano. I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the second time as moved by Honorable Chinyere. I so second.
Okay. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. We'll move straight to second reading, yes. Honorable Igwe, it was very straightforward, very, very straightforward. No opposition. Don't worry.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, charged with the duty of, among others, determining what standards of knowledge and skills are to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the Institute, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Commerce. Motion on need to. Honorable Kolawole Lawal, okay, you're here. The sixth order of the day is motion on need to construction of Ihumbo Itaigbe Oniro Ikpokia Road, stand in the name of Honorable Kolawole Lawal. Honorable Lawal is invited to move the motion.
Honorable Speaker, I give you, sir. Honorable colleagues, thank you. My name is Kolawole Lawal. I'm from Ogun State. I represent Iwa South Ipukia Federal Constituency. I rise, Mr. Speaker, move a motion for the need for construction of a Humbo Itaegbe Oniru Ipukia Road. The House knows that Humbo Itaegbe Oniru Ipukia Road is a 5-kilometer major road in the Ipukia local government area of Ogun State, and the people are predominantly farmers through which they earn their livelihood. The House is aware that road infrastructure helps farmers to transport their agricultural products within the state and to other states, as well as access essential services. The House is worried that the deplorable state of the road has paralyzed socio-economic activities of the area, as some portions of the road have completely been cut off, thereby making it impossible for vehicles to ply. The House is concerned that the continuous neglect of the road over a long period has left it in a state of disrepair and poses a major risk to commuters as well as community dwellers in the surrounding areas. The House is concerned that prompt construction of the road will boost economic activities as well as reduce the rate of accidents and crimes in the area. The House then resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to make provision in the 2021 budget estimates for the construction of the Humbo Itaegbe Oniru Ipukia Road. And the House resolved to mandate the committees on works and appropriations to ensure implementation. I so move, Mr. Speaker. God bless Nigeria.
Seconder, please. Your mic. Mic.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, Mohammed Omar Bio is my name. I represent the good people of Barutina and Kaima Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kwara State. I stand to second the motion moved by Honorable Kolawole Lawal. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, this is an infrastructure motion, so I'll just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The seventh order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the corporate governance of the Nigerian Communications Commission. Is Honorable Isiaka here? Okay, we'll step it down.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Isaka is not on the floor. I move that the motion be stepped down by the leader of the House. I so move.
The matter is stepped down. The eighth order of the day is a motion on need to combat the rising cases of insecurity in Lame Bura Game Reserve in Toro Federal Constituency, Bauchi State, standing name of Honorable Muda Lawal Umar, and one other honorable member. Honorable Umar is invited to move the motion. Honorable Umar. Okay, you're there. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, my respected colleagues, my name is Muda Lawal Umar. I represent Toro Federal Constituency. I'm from Bauchi State. I rise to move a motion on the urgent need to combat the rise rising cases of insecurity in Lame Bura Game Reserve in Toro Federal Constituency and Ningiwarji Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. And my co-sponsor is Honorable Abdullah Saad Abdul Kadir, who represents Ningiwarji Federal Constituency. The House notes that Lame Bura Game Reserve, located in Lame District in Toro local government area of Bauchi State, was established through a proclamation of the federal government in 1972. And just like the Yankari Game Reserve, it inhabits rare species of birds, monkeys, and other wild animals. Concerned that the game reserve has become a haven for insurgents, bandits, armed robbers, kidnappers, cattle rustlers, and all other criminal elements who have converted the reserve to their operational base as insurgents and bandits relocating from Zamfara State and other parts of the country seem to be regrouping in the reserve. Worried that most game reserves, forests, and wild parks within Nigeria, such as the Palgori Game Reserve in Kano State, the Kudaru Forest in Lere, Kaduna State, the Zurok Forest in Plateau State, Pandam Wildlife Park in Plateau State, Nabordo in Bauchi State, in Toro in Bauchi State, Jengiri in Plateau State, and Igabi in Kaduna State share similar security threats as the Lamebura Game Reserve. Cognizant of the need to combat the rising cases of insecurity in Lamebura Game Reserve in Toro local government area, resolve to urge the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and other security agencies to investigate the rising cases of insecurity in Lamebura Game Reserve, in Palgore Game Reserve, and all the other listed life parks and game reserves, with a view to prosecuting the criminals operating therein and improving the security in the area. Also urge the federal government to establish security formations within the said game reserves and wildlife parks. Further urge the federal government to provide infrastructure like roads, electricity, institutes in the game reserves with a view to boost their tourism potentials. Lastly, mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, we need a seconder to Honorable Mudalawa's motion. Seconder? Mubarak, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name is Jafar Ribadu. I represent Yola North Yola South Gire Federal Constituency. I am from Adamawa State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Okay. I think it's straightforward, Honorable Buddha. Do you want to add straightforward? Okay, so we'll just put the question. Honorable Abonta. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I remain Usaman Kima Bonta. Mr. Speaker, I looked at this motion, very straightforward, like you said. Very needed questions to be done. The topical issue of security that is bothering us. But my worry is this, Mr. Speaker, like I've canvassed elsewhere. We're going to resolve. These communications will go to these same chief of staffs we're complaining of. My prayer, I want to add to it. What can we do extra mile to make them obey our resolutions? It makes no point. We resolve every day. It's not being heeded or given attention. And now, asking legislative compliance. We shouldn't go out there and also endanger ourselves. Mr. Speaker, should we agree with the prayer and they do not? The chief compliance will do what? Invite or summon to ask them. My prayer, my request is, can we begin to bite like bulldogs so that, we'll set examples. We can't be talking on security issues every day, he said, every day, every quarter, and it refers to the same set of people. Mr. Speaker, the annoying one, I'll lower my voice in saying it. We passed several resolutions against the service chiefs, saying, based on incompetency, sack. We are still carrying back these resolutions back to them.
Okay.
Let's do something.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Bonta. I think that's the issue of resolutions and compliance is a separate issue. And if you have a matter on how we can enforce it, you bring it as a separate motion or a bill, whichever the case may be. So we will not allow that to affect the motion and the prayers as moved already by Honorable Mudalawa. But you can bring it as a separate standalone motion so that we can address it adequately. So those in support of the motion as brought by Honorable Muda, say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Somebody was moving an amendment? What a pity. I didn't hear. Sorry. The ninth order of the day is the motion on need for banks to adopt non-interest banking system to stimulate the economy, standing in the name of Honorable Kabir Tukura. Honorable Tukura is invited to move the motion. I don't think Honorable Tukura is here. Is that where you are? I thought you normally were on this side. Okay, Honorable Tukura, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Kabir Ibrahim Tukura and I represent Zulu, Fakai, Donko, Sabu and Sakaba Federal Constituency. And I rise to present a motion on the need for banks to adopt non-interest banking system to stimulate the economy. The House notes that non-interest banking, also known as profit and loss sharing banking system, prohibits the payment of interest in all ramifications and then adopts the principle of profit and loss sharing between the parties. Also notes that under non-interest banking, both the investor and the entrepreneur are seen as partners. Thus, when profit or losses are made, same is shared according to the formula that reflects their level of financial participation. Further notes that non-interest banking encourages asset banking as financial transactions are tied to tangible assets like real estate, investment, or investment on gold, which usually appreciates over time and does not depreciate. Concerned that conventional banking is an interest-based banking whose relationship with their customer is that of creditor and borrower, where interest is fixed in advance and risk or losses is only incurred by the borrower. Also concerned that a large number of Nigerians, especially those from the northern part of the country, do not take loans with interest due to religious concerns, which thus shortchanges them from benefiting from federal government policies and stimulus packages and is constituting one of the major reasons for the slow economic growth of the region. Further concerned that Nigeria's lending rate in conventional banking is one of the highest in the world and creates serious hardship, particularly on low-income earners, most especially in this period of COVID-19 pandemic. They stop that with higher interest rates, interest payments on credit cards and loans are more expensive, consequently discouraging people from borrowing and spending with the attendant decrease in consumption. Cognizant that the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is the apex regulatory body for banks and other financial institutions, has not done enough in encouraging non-interest banking, which would provide another palliative measure in this season of COVID-19 pandemic, to provide non-interest banking to their customers. 2, also urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to review its current policy on non-interest banking and direct federal government development banks and commercial banks to integrate same into their systems. And 3,
further urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to review its policy on non-interest banking to allow commercial banks carry it out as a product than having to acquire a separate license for non-interest banking, as is obtainable currently. And 4, mandates the Committee on Banking and Currency to ensure compliance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder, please? Aramza. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Musa Umar Galo, member representing Gorzakawa Federal Constituency from Kano State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my honorable colleagues. I so second. Thank you.
Madam Tukura, 1 minute, just put some flesh on it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I still remain Honorable Kabir Tukura. I represent Zulu, Faked, and Kosagu, and Sakawa Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this is straightforward. The need for a profit and loss sharing banking is very imperative. Like I said, it's the main reason why, it's one of the major reasons why the northern region of this country has been backward, because most northerners don't like to take bank loans due to the interest rates that is accrued to it. In the most advanced democracies and countries, some of the major beneficiaries of this non-interest banking are countries like Israel, the United Kingdom. They've tried it and it works for them. It's a risk-based sharing, interest sharing, and does give everybody a fair and equal opportunity. I urge honorable colleagues to ensure that this motion sees the light of the day, and we also call on the CBN to do the needful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Lamonda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for yielding the floor to me one more time. I remain Usaman Kimabonta. Mr. Speaker, I have seen the motion well articulated and well put down, but I am mindful to speak against this motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just last 2 days, precisely last night, we were in Lagos, also taking the lectures and briefing on this non-interest banking. I emphasize again, non-interest banking. Mr. Speaker, there are seasoned bankers here, as we all use bank. I make bold to say that we're in a capitalist economy. I make bold to say that the banking system is put on the basis of interest-related, growing money. Mr. Speaker, there is no banking howsoever, like we got here, that is interest-free. Mr. Speaker, I am more worried by the prayers of this motion. Currently, what the motion seeks to do exists in our banking sector, but based on what you want to. There are banks who set out now to do non-interest banking, profit and sharing. Maybe they finance LPOs, they do that. That is their specialty. Asking CBN, urging them to mandate banks, will be giving them loads. Tomorrow when banks fail, they say, but you forced us to do non-profit, that's why we can't pay people their money. we are setting a dangerous precedent. Let anybody who is willing to do non-profit, non-interest, to go and do. Let banks who have positioned them, let me give an example of UBA. I don't know whether my uncle is even listening. You now force UBA to go and do profit and sharing. Tomorrow I can't get my head. Yes, God is alive. Mr. Speaker, I think that in the capitalist economy, the forces of demand and supply, reasonably guided, should operate. If you alter these indices, it will result in what we cannot explain. We know about the suku, the fatila, all this water. It's operative. People go there. It's working. I may go to say there is no state that operates successfully non-interest banking, not to talk of Nigeria with a fragile economy. One of the prayers says, if I may read, as beautiful as it is, it says, urge the CBN and also urge Central Bank of Nigeria to review its currency policy on non-interest banking, that banks may begin to do that. Already, my argument is this, so I can sit down, is that banks who wish to do that are already on it. Some banks are established on it. Making it a bank policy, banks that already established and frame themselves on interest yielding. You know, ask them to sell none, maybe they're too dangerous. Let what is remain. However, Mr. Speaker, we know about agricultural banks, NISA and all whatnot. Whether they are doing profit sharing, I do not know, but they promote this business. Federal government had obtained a lot of bonds on Sukuk and all whatnot. Let it so be. But running across board that CBN will mandate banks will lead to colossal failures of banks. Who will rely on this for not able to pay? Therefore, my prayer is, if the author will agree, step this down for us to do more legislative work. Like I said, the Committee on Capital Markets just returned only this morning on various training. This is inclusive. And one of the things we resolve that there's no bank that is interest-free, that cannot function flow, but we want to see. So therefore, on that note, I pray sincerely that this motion be stepped down for us to do more legislative input so we don't resolve what gives us problems. We should also call CBN and talk with them and negotiate with them before we come back to do a resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Abonta. In your submission, you said it was a beautifully crafted motion. You also said that there is nowhere where there is non-interest banking. And then you went ahead to say some people are already doing it. So I don't know which one it is. And then finally, your final submission was that we should step it down for further legislative work. And from my understanding, I'm glad that you're not saying it's a bad motion and it should not go. You're saying step it down for further legislative work. And I believe when we do further legislative work, it is done at the committee level. Correct? That is why we send motions and bills to the committees for them to do further legislative work. So I think the right avenue for further legislative work will be at the committee level. Now, the committee can come back and say, no, this has no merit. But they have time to look at it. Your submissions were very brilliant. Yeah, and you have a point, but I just thinking for whatever it is worth, so that we don't throw the baby away with the bathwater and look at, let the committee do its work. We have a banking and currency committee. So we'll just put the question. You have an amendment? Okay. Oh, sorry. Honorable Abonta, I'm worried the day your bill will come up on this floor. Members are watching you closely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your
But good submissions, though. Very good submissions.
With your permission, please, I'm removing my mask, given that nobody is sitting very close to me. They say 2 meters. He's more than 6 meters away from me, so he's safe. Every 2 weeks, I test for positive. You have never tested for positive since Corona came. Let 2 of us go and do Corona test. I'm challenging you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anocho Shimli Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, my amendment is to delete all the prayers and have one prayer, which is to mandate the House Committee on Banking and Currency to investigate the need to go into non-interest banking and report back to the House within 8 weeks. I so amend.
Any seconder to the amendment? Honorable, what's your name again? Henry Mwauba. Honorable Henry Mwauba. Go ahead. Put on your mic.
My name is Henry Mwauba, and I speak for the enterprising people of Mbitoli Keduru Federal Constituency. I rise to second the amendment as ably moved by the minority leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is referred to the Committee on Banking and Currency for further legislative work. 10th order of the day is a motion on need to curb the rising incidences of liquefied petroleum gas related explosions nationwide. Stand in the name of Honorable Benjamin Kalu. Honorable Kalu is invited to move his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, honorable colleagues. My name is Benjamin Okezie Carlo. I represent the good people of Nigeria, starting from Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Abia State. I rise to move a motion on the need to curb the rising incidences of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG-related explosions nationwide. The House notes that on 4th January 2020, a gas explosion along Kachaya Road in Chinkum local government area of Kaduna State claimed about 8 lives, including that of the Director General of Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission, NAEC, who was reported to have gone to nearby barber shop located within the premises of the retail gas outlet when the incident occurred. The House also knows another gas explosion
Leader of the House, please.
On 28 November 2019 in Ajegunle, Apapa area of Lagos State, which claimed the lives of 2 children and left about 23 persons with varying degrees of burns, resulting in the destruction of properties worth millions of naira. Mr. Speaker, the House further notes another gas cylinder explosion in October 2019 at 4 points by Sheraton Hotel in Victoria Island, Lagos, leaving 3 persons seriously injured with cars and nearby properties destroyed. The House is worried that stakeholders in the liquefied petroleum gas LPG value chain often point at the failure to enforce standards, failure to clamp down on violators, and failure to prevent siting of gas stations and refuel outlets in residential areas by regulatory bodies, including the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, and the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, as being responsible for the rise in cooking gas
explosion in the country. Also worried by accusations, counter-accusations, and claims among regulatory agencies and stakeholders on the causes of gas explosion nationwide. For instance, the DPR and Liquefied Petroleum Gas Retailers Association, LPGA, a branch of NUPEN, were at loggerheads over the cause or causes of the January 20 explosion in Kaduna, a case where the DPR claimed that the explosion was as a result of decounting, transfer of liquefied petroleum gas into another cylinder by operator of the facility, while LPGA claimed that the disaster was as a result of acetylene and oxygen gases and not LPG, as widely circulated. The House again notes that the DPR, which is responsible for regulating gas activities and ensuring compliance with health, safety, and environment, HSE, standards in the sector, has consistently warned against siting gas stations in residential areas and unauthorized places. Yet the number of unauthorized gas plants keeps increasing on an annual basis as part of its enforcement procedures. The DPR sealed a total of 40 plants in December 2019 in Akwa Ibom State over unsafe practices. The House, cognizant that the Standard Organization of Nigeria established standards for gas cylinders in Nigeria, known as NIS 587, which among others specified a 15-year life cycle for gas cylinders and provides for every gas cylinder to go through mandatory requalification process every 5 years. But there are no facilities for requalification, certification, and recertification of gas cylinders in Nigeria. The House is also cognizant that in order to curb the domestic production and importation of substandard and fake gas cylinders, the then Director General of Standard Organization of Nigeria, Dr. Joseph Odumodu, in 2014, assured Nigerians of the implementation of a new policy on the ownership of gas cylinders. The House is disturbed that 6 years after the conception of the policy, the federal government is yet to commence the implementation of the new policy on ownership of cylinders in Nigeria, while the production and importation of fake and substandard cylinders continue unabated, while lives have been lost to the same problem which the proposed policy would have solved. The House believes that in line with the provisions of Section 14(2) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, government needs to take more appropriate steps to protect Nigerians from avoidable death by adopting relevant practices obtainable in other climes, especially in effectively monitoring the validity of LPG cylinders. Therefore, the House resolves as follows. 1, to call on users of LPG as part of safe ways of using same to procure and install both active fire extinguishers and gas leakage detectors in their homes. 2, urge the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, the Department of DPR, and the National Orientation Agency and marketers to embark on aggressive but consistent sensitization and awareness campaign on safe ways of using gas cylinders to save lives. And finally, to mandate the committees on petroleum resources downstream and commerce to investigate the cause or causes of gas cylinder explosions at LPG plants in order to find permanent and sustainable solution which will save lives while encouraging safe use of LPG, and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action. I so move. Thank you.
Any seconder? Honorable, would I please second? Your mic. Is your mic not working? Go ahead. It's not showing up here. Honorable Ben, just a minute, please. Go ahead. 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable colleagues. I think it's a very straightforward motion. We need to do something about what is happening with the explosion. And it is a well-detailed motion that I've also put down. I therefore adopt my position on the paper to be my debate with regards to this particular motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so we just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please. Huh? Amendment? Which one? Honorable Kabiru, you have an amendment to this? Go ahead. Mohammed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Kabir Idris, member representing Kura Madobigar Malam, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano State. My amendment is on prayer number 3. We should please consider and include committee on gas so that they can be able to do the investigations together. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Those in any second to the amendment, Honorable Ju.
To the Gas and Commerce Committee, not Petroleum Upstream or Downstream, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
What was your amendment? Okay. Any second, Honorable Lumelu?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dodigon Melu, and I represent the good people of our Northwest Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion that this resolution be referred to Committee on Gas and Commerce. I so second.
Those in support of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Those in support of the motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, before we adjourn, the House resolved yesterday to set up an ad hoc committee on, I believe it was to review the purchase of arms or ammunition. I don't remember the full title now. By all security agencies and outfits. The committee, ad hoc committee, has considered as follows. The committee will be chaired by Honorable Prince Olaide Adewale Akinremi, Honorable Satome, Honorable Comsol Longcap, Honorable Tijani Ismail, Honorable Abudan Bukari, Honorable Ibrahim Mustafa Aliu, Honorable Olushola Steve Fatoba, Honorable Egberungbe Mufta Adewale, Honorable Chike Okafo, Honorable Muda Lawal, Honorable Bede Eke, Honorable Sam Oku, Honorable Abdullah Abubakar, Honorable Tajuddin Obasa, Honorable Tijani Ahmed, Honorable Dr. Alex, Honorable Miga, Saidu Miga, Honorable Samaila Suleiman, Honorable Shehu Koko, and Honorable Chief Thomas Ray Tomi from Delta. Leader, adjournment.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Right Honorable Members. Ado Dogwa is my name. Mr. Speaker, I represent the good people of Dogwa, Tunumwada Federal Constituency. I am from Kano State. I rise as directed by the Right Honorable Speaker to move that this House do adjourn to Tuesday next week, the 15th day of December 2020 by 11 a.m. in the morning. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
Any seconder? Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleague, Odebu Mishegun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere of Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved by the House Leader. I so second.
And those in support of the House to adjourn till Tuesday, 11 a.m., please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.